ready to get into the game. It feels crazy to me that I'm about to say this, but this tournament for me feels like it's Muzzy's chance to show that he's still got it almost.
I know,
like,
right?
It feels insane to say that because like Muzzy is still undeniably one of the best players in the world. I don't think anyone can argue that. But you know, saying on social media recently, it feels like Hearthstone hasn't been going his way the last month. Things have just not been working out for him. And obviously, after his teammate Just Saying's insane performance recently, I think he's hoping for a good tour stop here just to show, you know what, he is still in fact the #1.
I think there's only one person in the world who doesn't think that Muzzy's still got it, and
Who's that?
might be Muzzy.
Yeah, that
Everybody
sounds
else
fair.
knows exactly how good he is. Yeah, he's had like one not so good tournament.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think comparing that with watching his teammate Saya's just gone win, second place. Best deck, but is it the best deck for Conquest? And that's going to be maybe the big question alongside who is going to win as this first round of Swiss or this Swiss tournament unfolds.
That's right, the first match of HCT Singapore finally underway. I'm sure to casters and viewers' delight as well. Talkstone can end for the moment and we can get into this first match. We'll get a good look at how I think Muzzy's tournament will be shaping out overall. Will his anti-control lineup that has that anti-aggro spin be able to stand up to the aggression that a lot of these players are bringing here today? As it currently stands with Muzzy's hand, I'd say he's got a pretty good shot. This is looking decent for him.
Yeah, because the meme is that your anti-aggro decks still don't beat aggro. That's
Right.
the Pheno meme, but it's,
Yeah.
it's a meme that we've certainly mentioned a lot of times. And recent tournaments have proved that to be the case. We've just seen, apart from Oslo, when anti-aggro lineup did win it, we have seen the anti-aggro lineups in general just losing to aggro. So, or at least going toe-to-toe with, aggro's going toe-to-toe with them. But this looks like a tasty start here for Muzzy.
Yeah, difficult choice for Stello with how to respond to it. This is one of the eternal questions in Odd Rogue is which of my which of my 3-drops is better here? Usually against the more aggressive decks, you go with Hench Clan Thug because you just want the most amount of stats on board. But against a slightly slower control deck, which obviously the Vicious Fledgling is meant to target, if you throw it down on turn 3 and they don't have an answer, you can just win the game on the spot.
Yeah, Muzzy needs to answer this immediately, and we'll be well aware that there's probably more waiting. Although Stello's hand is better than just a bit more waiting. He's going to be able to flood the board. Of course, with volcanoes and stuff like that hanging around and lightning storms, flooding the board can be a bit of a risky exercise.
Yeah, I mean, you say Muzzy needs to answer this instantly. If it was any kind of deck without a wide board clear, I would definitely agree with you. But what's the worst case that can happen here if Fledgling goes face? It gets Wind Fury and then it gets plus attack,
whatever,
plus
yeah,
health.
plus attack.
It's definitely a consideration to go coin Hex, because then if they go for another 3-drop, you can Hex that again and you're still in a decent spot. But just holding back here, going Farsight on this turn and then coin Volcano next turn is also a very real consideration.
I think one of the downsides of not doing this is because Stello is a very proficient player. He's one of the highest points earners in Asia, so definitely not to be underestimated. Top 4 in Korea in the tournament there. Is if you don't deal with this, maybe he just doesn't do anything else. Just goes, okay, this is enough. I'm just going to keep hitting you.
Good point.
And so
Good point.
Muzzy ends up just passing a turn. And so you've always got to sort of make out you haven't got any more
Yeah.
answers, especially when your hand has got this much removal.
And with the way the mana works out, if he was to go Farsight this turn, coin Volcano next turn, what does he do for the 3 mana that he has on turn 5? He doesn't have any 3-cost cards left, so he'd basically just have to Hero Power pass unless he gets a good card off the top. So this is, I think, the safer line, definitely the less ambitious line, but showing respect for Stello, as you said, anticipating that he won't overcommit onto the board.
Also planning ahead here, using the hand Muzzy has, Rogue is very bad at drawing cards, and by not taking this early damage, these 2 volcanoes followed by not taking damage means that you're not going to die to a surprise, a lucky Myra's, a Myra's that just gets all the good stuff.
Did you say Rogue is bad at drawing cards? When they
Sorry,
have a card that,
Odd Rogue is bad at drawing cards, yeah.
they have a card that literally says, draw every card in your deck.
Yeah, okay.
Most of their deck is not very good at drawing cards,
Sure.
I'll agree with that.
This is fair. And also, obviously, like I was saying, if you're on a high enough health total when they do that, then they draw their cards and you just fatigue them to death.
So now in terms of Muzzy's plan of going for coin Hex into Chain Gang, at the moment that hasn't quite worked out because a giant 3-drop has been made. But because such a big singular minion has been made, to the extent where it lowers the effectiveness of the Argent Squire, he can very happily Hex here again, probably lead into a Volcano, into a 4-mana turn for Chain Gang. Because of Muzzy's sequencing here to go coin Hex into Hex, he's just got himself into a beautiful mana curve, which is going to be difficult for Stello to get enough damage through, unless he starts finding some of those burst cards like Cold Blood and Leroy.
Yeah, and again, as you say, just tracing it all the way back to turn 3. That decision was not an easy one. There's a lot of things he could have done on that turn.
Yeah.
But now we've seen how it's unfolded so beautifully for him. Still has at least one more board to deal with, and Tile Creeper is a nuisance with Volcano about just because of the high health. But now Chain Gang will do its job quite nicely.
Yeah, I imagine it's unlikely to get to the point of where Volcano, can't clear off the whole board unless we find, I don't know, Baku in the next few turns, maybe a couple of Fungal Mancers. Muzzy should, in my opinion, be all right here, as long as he's not too greedy with his hand. He needs to just be playing cards every single turn, not waiting to get maximum value with his cards. Just dumping his hand, I think, as quick as possible, because when you have a hand that's high value like this, with 2 Farsights in there as well, you can just assume that if you throw your cards onto the board, you should come out on top against the Odd Rogue now.
Yep, I mean, he's got Life Drinker, but no Healing Rain in hand at the moment, so even though he's on 19, the one thing that can go wrong in this deck is, sure, this is all amazing, but the Rogue just gets a smaller minion to stick and then gets a Cold Blood. Sometimes they can beat you in 2 turns. But Muzzy's certainly in the better position by a long way right now.
Does have a pretty scary board that he's facing down now. If he doesn't want to go for Volcano on this turn, we can see he'll be taking a little bit of a beating. So even though this is not the most threatening board here, Muzzy's saying you're running out of cards unless you do have that one card in Myra's Unstable Element. He's probably coming to the same conclusion as you, in that Odd Rogue doesn't draw cards very well.
And now he's going to have potentially Life Drink into Zola at some point, not next turn obviously, and then Shudder Walk with the 2 Life Drinkers, even if he doesn't draw a Healing Rain.
Ooh, even a Grumble found as well. That does mean, he's got the full Shudder Walk combo now in 2 turns. He could just be going for 2 Shudder Walks if it activates in the 50-50 correct order.
We do need to be careful though here, because if a Cold Blood comes off the top for Stello, look at this damage that could be coming in.
That is
and
true.
There is no taunt here for Muzzy right now.
That is also true. I'm expecting to see, as we see it come down here, Life Drinker Hero Power here for Muzzy, as it develops the best board, a little bit of damage as well. But what, Leroy off the top now is 1 off lethal, I think? Oh no, a little bit off, sorry. Oh, but Myra's off the top is exactly what Stello is looking for. That could be potentially a lot of damage. Double Cold Blood here, I think would just win him the game right with
think you take the chance.
6-10, yeah, just lethal.
8 available, he would need to find 7 more, so double Cold Blood would do it.
Yeah.
And he's doing this as well, he's working out his odds. There's 18 cards, he's not very likely to get both Cold Bloods, but that's a fair chance somewhere in the region of 1 in 4.
Yeah, he's just working out, do I need more than 7 mana to get lethal here? And I think he's realised double Cold Blood does it, and that's his only real out for lethal here. So he needs to hit them exactly here. That is 1 Cold Blood. And that's the other second. Stello is just going to burst out this game number 1 in a very surprising fashion.
I'm out of cards.
Yeah, despite the fact it looked like Muzzy had all the answers, the Odd Rogue just getting it done, and the lack of card draw I was talking about actually isn't a lack of card draw. Both Cold Bloods in that area, and that is the game.
And so as I shift my head back into Conquest mode rather than Last Hero Standing mode, that does leave Stello with his Odd Rogue out of the way. Probably not the most difficult deck for Stello to get a victory with, I'd say, as Odd Rogue is very nice against the Even Lock, I find, as well as it has a decent matchup against the Death.
This deck, just the amount of ladder points he managed to get together. And so we're going to have to wait before seeing that deck, though. This is Zoo, which Zoo just won't die. Zoo is just not a deck you can ever get rid of. Every meta, it comes back for more.
Yeah, not the matchup here that I would imagine Stello was looking for. I feel like in the way most of these matchups line up, even Warlock up against the Zoo should be a pretty good one. A lot of removal they've got in the early and mid stages of the game. And even the minions that they develop, like Twilight Drake here, if that was to come down on the curve, that's just really tough for Zoo to deal with.
Yeah, that combination of being able to kill your minions and being able to fight back in a hurry is the best way to beat aggro. Like, you see other decks that don't have the removal, they play a big threat and aggro just ignores it and goes around the sides, basically. But
yes.
If you clear their stuff up and drop down a 4/7 or something, they die really quickly. You either tidy up with the 4/7 or just start hitting them in the face and they fold up.
And if you get yourself a Vulgar Homunculus to come down on curve as well, that's really the best you can expect against a Keleseth starting hand here for Stello, especially with a double Happy Ghoul. If Stello can get himself just one nice heal card in his Heal Zoo deck, he should be able to just completely overrun this game, because the real benefit that Keleseth affords you against the control matchups, I find, is that all of a sudden their removal just doesn't do enough. So many of the minions will be surviving against Hellfire, Dread Infernal, Defile, to the point where Muzzy is going to be very hard pressed to stem the aggression that Stello will be pushing forward, and aggression he will have in the form of double Happy Ghoul and a Doomguard.
Yeah, the Keleseth is so irritating. I don't know if you just mentioned that, but the Hellfire...
Yeah, just doesn't do anything, does it?
And Muzzy looks like he's going to have to fight back with minions for the large part here, but he does have some juicy minions because of the nature of this deck. It is a really bad matchup for Zoo.
Yeah, Muzzy here with a tough decision as to whether to go for the Defile. Muzzy has been playing his removal real aggressively so far in this series, which I find very interesting, because generally against a Zoo, you want to save your removal, ideally, going into their turn 5, because that's when they play Fungalmancer. You kind of have to clear the board going into the Fungalmancer turn, or you're probably just going to be losing. But Muzzy is saying, you know what, my hand's pretty expensive. Over the next few turns, he can go Twilight Drake, Shroombrewer, Spellstone. Most of his mana will be used up, so the Defile, just getting it down there, should be just fine.
So the fact he did have a minion left over, I think, is a big deal, because now he doesn't have to remove the first minion is played by Stello, and now he gets to start spamming his own stuff. I think that was a big deal in that Defile. But like you say, he has been killing things. It didn't work out too well with the Shaman because he ran out of stuff. He had to take those chances and just go for the healing rain in that game. But this game, I think the minions are going to act as removal, and he's going to be fine, I think. Although, looking at the hand from Stello, I don't want to write him off too soon. Oh,
it's just one card away from all coming together, isn't it? If he found their just any kind of heal card, be it Voodoo Doctor, Fungal Enchanter, anything at all to get these Happy Ghouls down on the board before that Hellfire becomes available to Muzzy, Stello would have just been in such a dominant position.
As it is, Muzzy quite happy on 22 health this time around. And just to see what he does here, because of the way that he has that removal available, but also just keep making more stuff on board looks good.
Yeah, only two real decisions here, I think, on this turn for Muzzy. It's either the trade and heal on the Twilight Drake with the Shroombrewer, just to give yourself the most board presence possible, or the play around the Fungalmancer, as I was talking about, where you can trade and play the Spellstone, which makes their Fungalmancer turn an awful lot weaker. I imagine Muzzy will go with the trade and Shroombrewer and just pray that he doesn't have it.
I do too. I think with Dread Infernal in hand, you want to boost these Spellstones to heal you for even more later on. I know it's a long-term value. It's only a medium-term value, because you're looking to do that on turn 7 or 8, not like turn 12 or something where you're long since gone.
It's a pretty miserable play for Muzzy, as we see that. An interaction, I have to be honest, I often forget in healing the opponent's Light Warden here. It was kind of unavoidable, I think, for Muzzy, as well. Even Spellstone would have done it, wouldn't it?
So this is the turn where he has to take his beating, but after this he gets into Hooked Reaver territory if he takes too much, and if this board isn't dealt with, it will just start to destroy Stello's position.
Yeah, but it's just so much damage that Stello has. It's going to be the same game plan, I think, as with the Odd Rogue, where it's just 10 damage to face here, straight up. Next turn, Doomguard into Soulfire. That's another, 9 damage through to face straight away. Muzzy needs an answer to all of this right now.
And that's not it. Looking at this Void Walker, by the way, Stello's kept this back for this turn. He's had it for a little while, but he wanted to defend these. The Twilight Drake's going to have to go through this annoying 2-4. He's defended this bigger board.
Oh, so Muzzy left with the choice of what does he want to go for? Hooked Reaver or Amethyst Spellstone? I think it's probably going to be Spellstone this turn, Hooked Reaver next turn. You generally want to remove and then play your big taunt so they can't just kill them off and then you have to heal back up anyway with no board afterwards.
Yep, I think that's going to be the way it goes. And then turn 7, which I always highlight as a nightmare turn for Evenlock. It's just not just because it's even casting cost cards on a 7-mana turn, but it's always the turn where you really want your power turn is turn 8 and you're so weak just the turn before.
So if we were to see Spellstone on this turn, that would heal Muzzy up to 15, 3 damage on the board, 12 health left effectively, which means Doomguard Soulfire would not kill him off. Basically, either Hooked Reaver or Spellstone on this turn both keep him alive.
Yeah, and
yeah.
With the 4/2s surviving, obviously are pretty useful against what might be thrown at him next turn.
However, for Muzzy, if he can just survive a little bit longer, I think things will start to turn around for him. For the wide boards, he's got Hellfire, and I mean, Stello still hasn't even found a heal card at all. So these 2 Happy Ghouls in hand, even if they were to come out, Hellfire is there to deal with them. But pretty unfortunate that he hasn't been able to throw them down with a heal at any point so far.
I think that's what he's thinking so long about here. He could just go for the Soulfire play, but that looks pretty terrifying.
Yeah, unfortunately, he can't get the Soul Infusion on the Doomguard on this turn and then just push that all to face. Instead, still going to be digging for any kind of heal card he can throw down, but that is a miserable draw for Stello.
Yeah, absolutely no help to him whatsoever. And because of that, he's going to slow down going into that turn 7 for Muzzy, and it's going to give Muzzy the chance to not have a free turn, but have a turn that was looking like a bad one to become a mediocre one. And turn 8, you can see it's going to be beautiful. You'll have such a wealth of options. Here's the tech you were talking about a minute ago, by the way.
Yeah, you were saying that the turn 7 would be weak, and I generally agree with you that it is the weak turn for even Warlock. But this is fine for Muzzy. This is the swing turn for him, where he starts to pull this game back. It's not perfect because he doesn't have an upgraded Spellstone, so he can't deal with the Happy Ghoul. But he needed this relatively weak turn from Stello, I think, to have any chance in this game.
I wonder if he's tempted here. He will be tempted. I don't know if it might be too dangerous to drop the Geist and do some trading.
What, then he can't
He's
clear
not
off the
dead.
whole
He can't
board?
die next turn on board. He can die to a buffed Doomguard.
He dies to so much stuff. I think you have to play a little bit more defensively than that here. Yeah, I like this a
Beetle's
lot.
tasty, obviously. And then he does start to turn the corner. This Bone Mare acting as a defensive unit as well as an offensive one.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Trying to close out the game next turn if he can with the Bone Mare, I would imagine. Often what even Warlock does, you don't realise that it's starting to kill you until you're dead.
Yeah. You suddenly realise you're on 18 having taken no damage all game. And then you just die next turn.
As the Doomguard finally coming down, very thankfully for Stello not being discarded. No lethal available because of that Hooked Reaver play on the last turn. But Muzzy still is threatened with lethal, so he's going to have to do a pretty good job of clearing up here. But I think he now, with Hellfire, Defile, and Spellstone, has just a plethora of ways to clear up.
Yeah, and it's not like the Rogue deck where they can just suddenly play Myras and draw a whole caboodle of damage from the entire deck.
Yeah.
The most damage he's facing in one turn here is a very unlikely 9, and more realistically it's 5. Muzzy setting up a Defile, which is going to allow him to get this Geist down the... Removes another Soulfire, just gets rid of one more option so he can play around even fewer things.
Yeah, there was the option there for Muzzy to go for the Bone Mare and make a couple trades. I think that left him not in quite so good of a spot because you want to use that Bone Mare when you're actually making a minion that definitely survives rather than just trading equally into a minion.
And a 4/6 buff by Bone Mare is pretty large.
So yeah, options on this turn. I guess Bone Mare trade next turn, Dread Infernal, Spellstone. It seems like this game is looking pretty simple for Muzzy now.
And this is why I think some people, and I'm not one of those people by the way, but some people find Zoo to be unspectacular because when it gets into this situation it is just lost. Whereas with the Rogue you do have that final sort of...
Yeah.
The end of level boss just turns up and gives one last go at you with an effect you'd forgotten about. Zoo doesn't seem to have that going on.
Well, you say that, but one
looking at this board,
final hurrah here for Stello. He realizes if this doesn't work, it's pretty much game over. But as we can see, the Dread Infernal and the Hellfire is just enough damage for Muzzy to be able to equalize this series 1 game apiece. And this was a very important matchup for Muzzy to line up, I think. Getting that Even Warlock into the zoo, it could have been a lot worse for this Even Warlock. If it had gone against the Odd Rogue, maybe even the Subject 9 Hunter, although I'd say that's a decent matchup, could have gone a bit rocky. So it's very nice for Muzzy to get that Even Warlock Vic going for saying, I'm not going to bother teching Quest Rogue to be able to be aggro. I'm just not going to bring it, because I think there's going to be a bunch of aggro, so I'm going to make my anti-control decks more anti-aggro. Yeah,
you've got the choice. You can bring a deck that you think is going to lose, in which case, why you bring it? But sometimes you feel, I can afford a hedge, I can afford these anti-aggro cards, so hey, I'll go with them.
Going to see that Shudderwock Shaman once again for Muzzy. I feel like this is not the most difficult deck for him to take a victory with, as it does have pretty good anti-aggro capabilities. As we see here, once again, a Volcano ready to go, just to be clearing off the board if it does get too wide. Oof,
and we will see the difference between this and the Odd Rogue. When Muzzy stabilizes against this, that's basically, not quite, but basically the end of the game. Against Odd Rogue, there's still those extra punches that keep coming.
Yes, when he stabilizes and locks down the board, that's when I think the difference will come. If he just clears off the board, there's a lot of refill from Stello, but it's slightly slower than against the Odd Rogue. You don't refill your hand all in one go. You just have a consistent, decent amount of damage that you can throw down.
However, 2 4/4s on turn 2 is definitely going to put a bit of a spanner in the works here for Muzzy.
Especially as Stello not only has Soul Infusion into doubling him, his cards are perfectly lined up here for a Soul Infusion onto the Chain Gang as well, which is just perfect. Exactly what you're looking for.
Yep, so Muzzy making sure that he is in good position with not too much health on the board for turn 5 already for this Volcano. He's not quite going to be expecting what is coming his way. You're having a little bit of a giggle there.
Yeah, I am having a bit of a giggle, mate, because Stello here looks to be like a pretty proficient Zoo player. This game has been disgusting so far. Keleseth, double Soul Infusion onto the 2 cards that make copies of themselves. It really doesn't get much better than this, I'd say.
And it's a massive deal because Muzzy, if he doesn't do this Hex, which he has done, wouldn't have been able to deal up with the 15 required for the Volcano. And the second one things lives against your Volcano, your Overloader the next turn, you are pretty much doomed because the Zoo will just swarm on you.
And this has just been Muzzy all over this series, hasn't it? Just removal, throwing it down as soon as you can, every time. He hasn't been worrying about, will there be a better opportunity for it later on? He's just realized, okay, you know, I'll worry about the later turns later, because if I don't clear off the board here, I'm just going to be losing. I imagine it's correct. It's Muzzy.
I think he's the clearest thinker in all of Hearthstone when it comes to this sort of matchup.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Derek,
this draw is
no camera on Derek, but
disgusting.
he's feeling Muzzy's pain along with him, I think, here.
How could you not? This draw from Stello is just the absolute god draw. And Muzzy has been doing a remarkably good job at standing up against it, it has to be said. Like, his draw was not bad. He got a way to deal with pretty much all the minions coming down. He now has a mind control tech to fight back against this yet further, leading into a Hagatha. Maybe he can just get enough removal here to win this game before the damage comes in, especially because he has the healing rain to heal up afterwards. But whatever he's going to do, he has to do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm not sure Hagatha is going to cut the mustard as much as it should in this. That's a good steal, though. That helps a lot. He needed that one, I feel, to give him any chance against the Hagatha. If he stole one of the small guys, things are starting to look really bleak for him.
Does he want to throw down the Glacial Shard just to negate, what, 4 damage and make the trades a little bit awkward? Because it just dies off to the Despicable Dreadlord.
I think one of the problems here, one of the things he's thinking about is how do the trades work? This is why he's taking so long.
Do I need to play Electra?
What can I do to set up Hagatha? Do I need to play Electra?
Yeah. Because obviously it looks awful at face value. You're just playing a minion that has 3 health into what is very likely a Hagatha turn next turn. But if he's expecting something like a Fungal Enchanter maybe to come down next turn for a mass heal effect to pull everything back out of range, maybe he just needs to play it to make the effects work.
There is little time.
Very, very difficult turn now for Muzzy, and it's the only real turn he's taken a big think on, I think, so far.
Yeah, because it's not just what he can see, it's the stuff he can't see. If a Soulfire would interfere with this board, would be catastrophic if it was in the wrong place. And I think we might see him I thought we were going to see him play the Electro. I've got to admit, I'm not going to make up my thing post haste there.
It's the fact that there's a 3-4 taunt in the way, which means if he actually wanted to get good value trades with both the MC Tech and the Electra, he'd have to double trade into it first, which feels awful.
Yeah, he also has the option now to Hagatha into Electra healing lane and gain all that health back. He's worked out he doesn't think he can die in that time. He doesn't want to play Electra down just to blow it up the next turn. He wants some sort of board control after Hagatha's played. So that was the assessment he came to at the end there. And now the trading onus is on Stello, and hasn't been able to avoid the fact that Hagatha is a nuisance.
Yeah, fairly easy trades coming in here for Stello, though. He can just blow up most of this board here.
Someone called for the
Despicable Dreadlord showing that even against the control decks, it just makes the trades so nice. You can always find a way to make that 1 damage work to your favor.
Yeah, and this is going to work out okay for Muzzy, I feel.
It's all right.
The Hagatha clears up enough, and then the Electra into healing rain is okay. Like you say, it's all right. It's not ideal by any stretch.
If he had played the Electra, though, I think it's worth pointing out it would not have worked much better. Because he would have had to have just traded in the Electra. So I guess he would have killed off a 3-1, but the effect of playing a Hagatha, sorry, the effect of playing an Electra later on with either a Lightning Storm or a Healing Rain will probably be more valuable.
He is in a world of pain now, though. Hagatha is okay at developing you some extra life, but he's going to need to get a defensive result here, or he is just going to die.
Well, he's just got Shudderwock, right? It's got the Hagatha battle cry stored inside it.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that's pretty much his only shot. It clears off the vast majority of the board here.
He doesn't need it as a win condition.
You know, quote unquote throws away his win condition, but what else is he going to do?
This might go on for a while, actually, because this will clear up. But he will get immense value off the Hagatha on top of this. And like you say, the Hagatha being stored in here.
Lovely order as well.
Give him a chance.
Glacial Shard getting a freeze as well is pretty important.
Oh, he gets both.
It's the 2 perfect options there for Muzzy. Whew. Even an unstable evolution is
actually a
pretty
fantastic
good.
pick. I mean,
yeah.
you play it in some versions of this deck.
Yeah, sure.
So, but doubling him in Voidwalker is an amazing reload.
And if we were to see Grumble right now, which unfortunately hasn't been found for Muzzy, that would have been truly disgusting. Another complete board clear there, and it would have probably won the game for him on the spot. Starts to get a little bit scarier now, as these minions can't be cleared off immediately. But even then, as we were expecting, the 10-drop being made, Deathwing coming in to hopefully clear out this game for Muzzy. He can also just heal way back up with the Healing Rain.
The weird thing there, even though Deathwing's obviously a decent evolve, he's probably just looking for something that charges, to be honest there. Just
what, the Mulch
up.
Muncher?
Yeah, just win with whatever's left over, but he shouldn't die next turn. There's quite a lot of resources from the top, so he is going to have to Healing Rain here to stay alive.
Yeah. I think Muzzy's just realised as long as he doesn't die now, he should be able to win the game in the next couple of turns. This really shouldn't be too difficult for him now. So getting the absolute maximum Healing Rain value, even though it's kind of unnecessary to be honest.
But this does go back to that turn where he spent the whole rope thinking, do I play my Electro or not? He's led into a much better position because of that.
I wonder if it was better to go for Electra unstable evolution then, right? Just get a double upgrade effect in it.
I think the extra 4 or 5 health is probably worth having. You're going to win this with any minion that sticks on the board.
Oof.
Apart from that one.
Yeah, he's gone from having a Thunderhead to, what's that minion even called? Meteorologist, I think?
You dug that hole, you can dig your
I think it's a Meteorologist.
I think you're right.
I think it is. But yeah, a 6-mana 3/3 is definitely not what you're looking for, and that is the kind of result that Stello needs to get to pull his way back into this game. Because Muzzy is now just, if he can deal the 3 damage necessary to that, with the trade, he doesn't have lethal now, even with killing off the
Okay, so Chain Gang should buy him some time, and you can see now why he was so intent on this healing though. This damage comes pretty quick from Zoo.
Good point. I'm still not, I guess he wins so often anyway, as long as he gets the healing in.
Now it's just about making sure that he doesn't die for long enough for the Hagatha to do its thing. I feel like Chain Gang here just shores most of this up, even though it's just like a speed bump.
You could go Voltaic Burst into Earthen Might because those are elemental sparks.
That's nice.
Dimly lit.
Yeah, Just something worth considering.
He can still do it after he sees his next card.
Yeah. I guess that makes
No,
sense.
he's got other uses for the mana in mind.
I guess he's thinking I'm more likely to play an elemental than I am to play a random card for like 1 mana off of the Saronite Chain Gang Hagatha effect.
How long can this go on?
Lesser Sacrifice Spellstone. Always just sits in your hand, even though it always looks like you can just win the game with it. It never quite happens somehow.
Muzzy here just wondering, am I allowed to go face and close out this game? Oh, leaving up the Dreadlord is so rough, but you just win if you go face. Like, they have to clear off way too much stuff here.
Yeah.
You never ever die. I think Muzzy's realized while that Dreadlord looks so terrifying, it just does not do enough.
So Muzzy here, if he Stello, if he wanted to go face, would do 13 here, I think. Using the Soulfire to kill a minion.
Yeah.
Then tap into a Doom Guard, another 5, that would be 18. So
Played
not
Keleseth,
enough.
so 19. Surprisingly close here.
So if he gets
for Stello.
Solarium into... So Soulfire, tap, Solarium, Soulfire, don't discard the Doom Guard. Is that enough mana?
Okay. I mean, that looks like his out to me. Or I guess maybe clearing off is a slightly more reliable out. Ours was a pretty fanciful solution.
The thing is, he dies to like everything in Muzzy's deck on top of the Hagatha.
He does
this
die
way.
to like everything. I'll agree with that.
I
And
prefer our fanciful solution.
yeah, I mean, I think this is probably about as likely to win him the game because he can clear off quite a lot of stuff here with trade, double trade into the Deathwing. He didn't even need anything else. Like, he's surviving on board here. Which I think is probably a little bit more likely to go in his favor because now with 13 damage on the board, he might be able to get lethal. But as we can see, outside of his perspective, Muzzy can close in with the Life Drinker for the win, which is so important for him. After losing against the Odro with his Shudderwock Shaman, if he'd taken another loss there with this relatively decent deck against aggro, he would have been in a truly miserable spot.
Your cards. And then Muzzy's just going back to basics and saying, no, actually, I'm just going to kill all his things. Like the really trivial, obvious strategy to people who play a lot of Hearthstone actually isn't anywhere near as obvious.
The solid rank 25 play here from
Yeah,
Muzzy.
just call Muzzy rank 25. I'm sure he'll thank you for that later.
That's not even an insult anymore. At least he's not rank 50.
Yeah, I know. But I'm getting there.
But Muzzy has found one of those hands that we were talking about that looks like it could get the job done. Coin egg it to Terrascale into Flanking Strike. That is one heck of a curve here for the Muzz.
Talking one heck of a curve, Stello, even though he hasn't got it done yet,
All right, fair enough.
Got it going with this zoo.
Muzzy here is just playing like greased lightning. I think I saw him actually touch the mouse for a second there. I almost saw it.
Almost saw it.
Yeah. As for both players, this is just lightning fast Hearthstone. Stello not even considering breaking the egg, even though it was coined out. Let's just launch all of this to face and try and close out the game as quick as possible. Muzzy now left with the much more difficult decision of do I Terrascale, do I Mind Control? He realizes, again, if I'm going to win this matchup, I have to stem the bleeding as quick as possible.
Yeah, and the Terrascale there, what we were talking about at the start, if he Terrascales the egg there, Stello just hits him for, what was it, 15 or 14 or something.
Way too much damage, yeah.
Just a quick note as well, it looks from the perspective of these cameras like Stello can just look at the screen.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, they've both got their backs significantly to the screen. It's just a camera angle thing. No need to panic.
Yeah, just want to make that very
clear. Just in case anybody at home's having, a little bit of a moment.
There is no way for the players to see the screen, but yeah, we were asked to make that clear. It may look like from their play they may be able to see the screen. Turns out
That's just because they're so good at
they're
Hearthstone.
just really good at Hearthstone, yeah.
Stello taking a moment here. Rightly so as well. Because now he needs to plan not just for the next turn, but for the whole game. Obviously, do I want to make any trades at all? Do I want to make the value trades? Or what do I want to do? And I like this. This is protecting the 4-1 minion, which is surprisingly hard to get to, which means he should be able to get a good damage out of it. And if Flanking Strike comes in, he's probably, he doesn't like it, but...
Yeah, he really doesn't like it.
He's made it so, okay, it's a 4-1. You want a Flanking Strike of 4-1?
Yeah, very nice play here from Stello, where it's just the fact, it's worked out well for him. I think Stelo's play has been pretty simple, to be honest, but the fact that it has been so aggressive has meant that Muzzy has just not been able to go for one of the most powerful win conditions in his deck. Because, like you said, he just doesn't have time. Egg is too slow here.
And Hunter does not play Unleash these days, and that allows this sort of mess to happen to you.
Yeah. perfectly timed as well. If this was going into turn 6, we would not see the same play, because there would be Rexar primarily, as well as a Mossy Horror able to clear up all this mess. But Stello knows there is no punish here right now, and it looks like we are possibly going to see a lightning-fast victory for Stello.
Yeah, the mini punish is this Grizzly, but it's
Yeah,
not a punish.
so.
You've still got to do it. You're putting down more health than the Grizzly is.
This is pretty good, actually,
Saving.
for Muzzy, yeah.
This is turning the corner. The Grizzly is sort of the cornerstone of Zalae's new priest deck. Just get back a 12 health minion several times and tell aggro, you're not hitting me today.
And the old damage Stegatron as well.
I don't know if anyone's brought that deck. Again, we haven't had a chance to look through all the lists yet, but
It's very cool.
I would be surprised if there isn't one somewhere in this tournament.
And man, oh man, has that Witchwood Grizzly done a tremendous job here for Muzzy. And Stello realizes he has to completely trade in, because if Muzzy goes Q play dead next turn, the game's over. That's just it. He's lost.
Grizzly number 2 is right on the edge of that just being a thing anyway.
Yeah.
Looking
Wow.
at the hand.
This has just turned around big time, and I suppose I was underestimating the power of Witchwood Grizzly here. As a punish for Stello's line of play, his very aggressive line basically meant that the only out for Muzzy was Witchwood Grizzly. Fortunately for him, he had both of them in hand.
Yeah, and somebody's just got to take that chance if you are Stello. Cubes and Stalkers in hand look all fantastic in that, as Derek does the customary puffing like that he does. But actually, I think this game is, if Muzzy just clears up what's there now, I think he wins anyway a lot of the time.
Yeah, this is just one turn away from a lockout victory. If he can protect this bear for a turn, then Muzzy obviously just wins, because he goes Cube and then Terror Scale on it on the following turn to make 2 3-12 taunts, which Stello will have pretty much no way of getting through.
And these minions are just going to removal. The out, though, the Solarium, giving Stello some final hurrah, maybe?
Fungalmancer's good. This was a pretty fantastic hand to be getting with the Solarium. The correct trades being made here are like with healing on the own minion, which gives Stello a chance to pull this back.
Well, he's going to have Soulfire out for the entire game now, so Muzzy's going to have to
That's
kill it really
true.
quickly.
That's true.
Tracking into...
Rexar.
Please give me Rexar, I could do with the 5 health.
Not sure if he'll go for that though, because 3+5 is definitely looking like the premier way to spend the mana on his turn. But who knows, maybe he feels like he's in a good enough spot as long as he finds Rexar to just go for it here. And that's exactly what we're seeing. He can still go double 3 if he doesn't find it.
Yeah, Spider Bomb and Stalker looks like a good way to finish clearing this board up when things go
I agree.
a bit funny here.
It's got to be play dead as well.
Play
right?
dead, yeah, and he's probably thinking, do I want to use it on the Spider Bomb and try and actually push a little bit of damage, because the clock is going to be on him in terms of that Soulfire to face.
And this game has just been such a swing on both sides. I thought it was just over for Muzzy after Stello's, again, insane zoo hand. But he's managed to turn it around for the moment, at least. Stello now has the choice, Soulfire or Doomguard, to just lock out the game and bring it up to 2 games apiece.
That's why Muzzy's taking, again, this line of least value. Just, I need this board. I can only lose to Soulfire and Doomguard, but they are coming, so I need to kill my man really soon.
And that is one of the worst draws that Stello could get. I think he can develop a 4-4 on this turn, and that is it, which means how much damage is available to Muzzy.
Muzzy doesn't have enough damage, but what he does have yet, depending on his tracking, what he does have is a way to find Rexar, and also just he can chill and still have easy lethal next turn.
That Ziliax is very important here for Muzzy. He doesn't have any taunts, so Q play dead isn't the way to go. Yep, you just get that Ziliax down on the board and start healing yourself back up.
I think this is just to thin the deck. I don't think he cares what minion. He just wants that Rexar just in case, but there's no just in case looking likely now. This healing from the Ziliax is so gigantic, taking out of range of the 1-card outs.
Oh yeah, even the magnetic effect on the Spider Bomb, which I always forget. It's just Spider Bomb has neither magnetic or is a mech in most players' eyes. It's just good enough to play it in the deck. But this needs to be the out right now for Stello, and I'm not sure if it's even left available to him. And that is going to be 1-0 up for Muzzy in this series. His anti-control lineup, but with those anti-aggro spins put on it as well, it's looking like a pretty strong contender in this lineup. And
we were talking about the Ziliax at the start of the match, and we see how important that was there.
Yeah.
It was the card that saved him from facing a 3-outer there.
Yeah, definitely. I liked a lot of Muzzy's play in that series as well. The fact that he was very aggressively throwing down a lot of his removal in those matches.